Some stories are written in gold, others in fire. And then, there are those carved into the heart of history itself. Tonight, we tell you one such story. A story of resilience, elegance, and the unshakable spirit of a nation whose voice has too often been drowned out, until now. This is the journey of Nadeen Ayoub, the woman breaking barriers as Palestine's first ever Miss Universe contestant. But make no mistake, this isn't just another pageant fairy tale. This is a mission draped in silk and stitched with defiance. It's the sparkle of a crown against the shadow of war, the confident walk of a queen carrying the weight of her people's dreams. If you believe beauty can be a weapon of hope, then stay with us. This is Mr. Darkman TV. I'm your host Zainab Sabir. And before we begin, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon. Nadeen Ayoub stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the delicate olive leaf pin on her dress, a symbol of her homeland. In just a few weeks, she would make history as the first ever Miss Universe Palestine, stepping onto the global stage in Thailand. Her phone buzzed endlessly with notifications, messages of pride, hope, and a few critics questioning the timing. But Nadeen knew her mission was bigger than a crown. I represent every Palestinian woman and child whose strength the world needs to see, she had written in her announcement. The words weighed heavily on her heart. Images of Gaza's devastation flashed in her mind, but so did the resilience of her people. This wasn't her first pageant. She had dazzled at Miss Earth 2022, finishing in the top 4. But Miss Universe was different. It was a chance to show the world that Palestine was more than its pain. It was hope, endurance, and unbreakable spirit. As she packed her suitcase, she tucked a small keffiyeh scarf beside her evening gown. No matter the outcome, her real victory was already won, letting Palestine shine unapologetically for the first time. Because tonight's story is one you'll never forget. Scene shifts to archival clips of Miss Universe stages, then to Nadeen Ayoub on Instagram, smiling in a white Tver's embroidered gown. The camera lingers on the intricate stitches, red, black, and green, telling a tale far older than the contest itself. She stands poised, not just as a beauty queen, but as a living emblem of a people's resilience. Nadeen Ayoub, Palestinian-Canadian, psychology student, wellness coach, and humanitarian, has ignited a fire on the global stage. On 13th August 2025, she announced what no one had ever heard before. For the first time in history, Palestine will be represented at Miss Universe. Her words hit the digital world like a lightning strike. Over 1.1 million followers watched her declaration. Supporters from around the globe flooded her page with messages of pride, while critics and cynics whispered about politics, danger, and what might follow. Yet, for Nadeen, the decision was already made long before the post. Perhaps the day she first watched her homeland suffer and decided silence was no longer an option. She isn't stepping onto the Miss Universe stage just for a crown. She is stepping onto it with the truth that Palestine is more than rubble and headlines. It is laughter in the streets of Ramallah, the scent of olive groves in Nablus, the vibrant embroidery of a grandmother's wedding dress, and the fierce dignity of women who refuse to bow to despair. A slow aerial shot of olive groves swaying in the wind. The golden sun turns the land into a painting, warm, ancient, and eternal. Before she was the woman standing on the Miss Universe stage, Nadeen Ayoub was simply a girl surrounded by the whispers of her homeland. Whispers carried in the wind over the hills of Palestine, through bustling markets, and into the quiet moments shared in her grandmother's home. Every stitch of Tver's embroidery told her who she was before she even knew her place in the world. Nadeen's upbringing was a mosaic. She was raised between Palestine, the United States, and Canada, 3 worlds that could not be more different, yet each shaping her in its own way. In Palestine, she learned pride and endurance. In the West, she learned ambition and the art of navigating cultural divides. By the time she was a young woman, her identity was both global and deeply rooted. Her first true leap into the international spotlight came in 2022, When she stepped into the world of Miss Earth, one of the biggest environmental beauty pageants in the world, representing Palestine, she didn't just show up, she soared. Wearing gowns that told the story of her homeland's colors and traditions, she finished in the top 5 and earned the title Miss Earth Water. But with the victory came a deeper realization that pageantry, for her, was never going to be about trophies. It was about turning the world's gaze to the stories that matter, the ones buried beneath conflict headlines and political noise. So, Nadeen began to build something far bigger than herself, Sayyidat Palestine. This wasn't just a platform. It was a stage for Palestinian women to stand on, a megaphone for voices too often ignored. Through interviews, photographs, and personal stories, she painted a picture of Palestinian womanhood that was bold, creative, and alive. One of those stories was of Hoveda Abu Yaqub, a soap business owner who turned her grandmother's olive oil recipes into a thriving company. Hoveda's journey wasn't just about entrepreneurship. It was a story of grit, as she spent hours at checkpoints just to deliver products, a sacrifice most of the world could not fathom. Being a Palestinian woman is everything to me, Hoveda told Nadeen. It means pride and dignity, and a deep connection to the land. Her voice trembled, but her words were unshakable. For Nadeen, these stories were fuel. Sayyidat Palestine became a movement, one dedicated to showing that Palestinian women are not defined solely by struggle, but also by ambition, art, education, and dreams. 13th August 2025, a still frame of Nadeen Ayoub's Instagram announcement. The words are simple, but the weight behind them is seismic. I am honored to announce that for the first time ever, Palestine will be represented at Miss Universe. The post spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up. Fans celebrated. Messages of solidarity poured in from every corner of the globe. Yet, in the shadows, murmurs of danger began. Social media threads speculated about political retaliation. The Israel-Palestine conflict's long, painful history was suddenly part of the pageant conversation. For some, her debut was a beacon of hope. For others, it was a provocation. But for Nadeen Ayoub, it was simply inevitable. When Nadeen Ayoub, a 24-year-old model from Ramallah, was offered the chance to represent Palestine at Miss Europe Continental, she saw it as an opportunity, not just for herself, but for her homeland. I thought I'd do it for my country, she says. Palestine hardly ever gets represented. Though she had no pageant experience, she made the top 5, sparking a new determination. Months later, as Miss Palestine 2022, she made history by reaching the final 4 at Miss Earth, one of the world's top beauty pageants. Crowned Miss Earth Water, she used the platform to speak for her people. In the final round, when asked what she wanted to change in the world, she answered firmly, "Fight ignorance and selfishness, starting with education." The crowd erupted in cheers. For Ayoub, the stage was more than a competition. It was a rare chance to amplify Palestine's voice. Now, she hopes to inspire others, proving that beauty pageants can be platforms for change. I wasn't just a beauty queen, she says. I was a Palestinian. She had walked too far, built too much, and carried too many voices to stop now. She made it clear she was going to Thailand not just as a contestant, but as a symbol. In her own words, "We are more than our suffering. We are resilience, hope, and the heartbeat of a homeland that lives on through us." With Sayyidat Palestine amplifying stories, her olive green academy pushing sustainability and education, and her own background in psychology giving her insight into the emotional toll of conflict, Nadeen's Miss Universe journey became an act of cultural diplomacy. The stage in Thailand, scheduled for 21st November 2025, will be no ordinary runway. Under the bright lights, amid sequins and applause, she will walk carrying a nation's dignity stitched into every inch of her gown. Every smile, every turn, every word in her final speech will be for the women who wake before dawn to rebuild, the children who laugh despite rubble, and the men and women who refuse to forget their roots. When Nadeen Ayoub steps onto that Miss Universe stage, it won't just be a competition. It will be a statement. A declaration that beauty is not shallow when it carries the weight of truth. That a crown can be more than gold and jewels. It can be a torch in the darkness. And that even in the face of heartbreak, a queen can rise, not for herself, but for her people. This is Mr. Dark Man TV. I'm Zainab Sabir. If Nadeen's journey has moved you, if you believe that breaking barriers is the truest kind of beauty, then like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us as we follow history in the making.